From the nation's capital, Eye on Washington with Marilee Joyce. A weekly discussion about the federal issues most important to Nevada. And now, from Washington, D.C., here's Marilee Joyce.
Well, good day to you. I'm Marilee Joyce. This is Eye on Washington, the only statewide Nevada news program produced in Washington, D.C. Every week, Eye on Washington takes you straight to Capitol Hill for a discussion with Nevada's delegation and other leaders about the federal matters that matter to you. Today's topic, the Freshman's Focus. We'll tell you what Nevada's newest congressman wants to accomplish for Nevada in this 112th congressional session. And my guest today is Nevada U.S. Congressman Joe Heck. Thanks for being here today and welcome to Eye on Washington.
Thanks, Marilee. Good to be with you.
Thanks. Now, back in 2005, when he was in the state Senate, our newest congressman's legislative biography listed physical fitness training among his interests. While it doesn't specifically say he's a runner, he certainly has hit the ground running this session. And today on Eye on Washington, we'll tell you Congressman Heck's priorities as he serves you on the Hill. We'll tell you what committees he's been assigned to and why they matter to Nevada. And we'll get his take on how best to turn around Nevada's still struggling economy, as well as some other top issues facing Nevada and the nation this year. But let's start off with a hello. Who is our newest House member? Well, Congressman and Dr. Joe Heck is a doctor of osteopathy. He is board certified in emergency medicine. He also has a master's in strategic studies from the Army War College, and his resume, a combination of medicine and military. He ran Specialized Medical Operations Incorporated in Henderson, as well as the Casualty Care Research Center in Bethesda, Maryland. Congressman Heck volunteered with the Army Reserve and served in Operation Joint Endeavor, Operation Noble Eagle, and Operation Iraqi Freedom. He was among the Ground Zero responders following the 9/11 terrorist attacks. His political past includes 4 years in the Nevada State Senate, representing Clark County's 5th District from 2004 to 2008. While in the legislature, he served on the Natural Resources, Human Resources and Education, and Commerce and Labor committees, as well as on the Transportation and Homeland Security Committee, for which he was vice chairman. In Congress, he'll serve on the Intelligence, Armed Services, and Education and the Workforce Committee, as well as the GOP Steering Committee, all of which we'll get to in detail in our next segment. First of all, again, welcome to Eye on Washington. I hit some of the highlights there because I wanted to give our audience an idea of that really unique blend of medical and military. But what I want to start off with is why you want to be here. You pondered a run for the governorship, and then you decided, no, I'm going to take on Dina Titus and try to come to the Hill. Why Washington and not Carson City?
Well, I looked at the issues that we were facing as a state and as a nation, and then I looked at what my background was, as you just kind of listed off some of it, and thought, where could I best serve that would make the biggest difference for the people in Nevada and for the people across the country. And I felt that with economy and jobs being such an important issue for us, and having been a small businessman who's made a payroll, who knows what it's like to try to provide benefits and keep my doors open during tough economic times, that I brought a contemporaneous business experience to Washington. And I was still prosecuting a war in 2 fronts, and having served in the military, continuing to serve now in my 20th year, bring that experience. And the last issue that we looked at was healthcare, which was still is a big debate. And having practiced medicine for 24 years, felt that I could bring some expertise to that argument as well.
You know, as I said, we're going to detail the committee assignments a little later in the show, but I do know you had a wish list that you talked about even before the election. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, you know, of course, coming to Washington and trying to leverage my experiences as well as my interests for where I can do the most good, looked at the potential committee assignments, and certainly looked at wanting to be on education and workforce. Undergraduate degrees in education. Thought I would be a teacher, but after doing my student teaching, realized that it took somebody much more special than I to want to be in a classroom 7 hours a day with a bunch of children. And so I decided to go off into medicine, and then looked at Armed Services because of my military background, and then also looked at Homeland Security because of the areas that I've worked in previously. And through the process, I actually wound up on Ed and Workforce. I did wind up on Armed Services. I originally was on Homeland Security, and then there was a last-minute change. I'm now on Armed Services. And I was also asked to sit on Intelligence.
And what are some of your initial impressions so far, your life as a new congressman?
Well, it's obviously very exciting. I lived and worked here in D.C. For a short period of time when I was at the Casualty Care Research Center, which was up the road in Bethesda. And so moved here, moved back to Nevada. But it's very exciting to be here, to walk within the Capitol hallways and to see all the great folks who have represented us either in portraits or statuary.
Sure.
You know, it's a humbling experience to know that the people of CD3 have entrusted me to come here and represent them and try to do things that will make their lives better back at home.
I think the big question, though, what everybody at home wants to know is, how'd you do in the office lottery?
I got my second choice, which was really good. I pulled number 19.
And let me explain the office lottery for anyone who's ever seen it. What was that Eddie Murphy movie when he comes to the Hill and he doesn't take it seriously to get an office, so he gets like the janitor's closet or something, I don't remember. But the office lottery, meaning the office that the new freshman members get. So tell us a little, where are you and
well,
how
I wound
did it come about?
You know, we certainly looked at all the potentially available rooms. My wife was here with me, and we walked around, tried scoping out with office space. And fortunately, we first draw numbers in alphabetical order, so I went pretty early because of my last name. I drew number 19 out of 85, which put me in great position. And then when it came time when my number was called, I was able to get my second choice. And that put me in 132 Cannon. Which is in the same hallway as Congressman Dean Heller. Figured we can keep it easy for folks from Nevada. We're in the same hallway. And my first choice was actually the office directly across from him in 126. That one got taken, so I just slid down the hallway a little bit, and I'm in 132.
That physical fitness training, you can walk just a little bit.
Just a little bit.
Okay, thanks a lot. And when Eye on Washington comes right back, we're going to tell you more about his committee assignments and why they matter to you in Nevada. It's right after this.
You're watching Eye on Washington with Marilee Joyce. Brought to you by the Southern Nevada Water Authority, the National Mining Association, the Frias Companies, Caesars Entertainment, NV Energy, the Las Vegas Convention and Visitors Authority, and Skyline Restaurant and Casino.
Sunrise, the Mojave Desert. Just another day in Southern Nevada? Think again, pal. Millions of concerned citizens are throwing in to conserve water. Yes, from the welcoming hills of Boulder City to the friendly streets of Spring Valley, everyone's playing their part. Way to go, Joe. It's a desert out there. Be water smart. Go to snwa.com.
Eye on Washington with Marilee Joyce, Nevada's only statewide program produced in Washington, D.C., is your weekly update on the top federal issues that are most important to Nevadans. But for even more news from Capitol Hill that affects you, your family, and your business, you need to read Nevada's Washington Watch, our online newsletter. In-depth reporting on federal efforts that impact you. Our exclusive Inside the Beltway column that puts a microscope on Nevada's congressional delegation. Guest editorials from industry and business leaders about what Nevada needs from the Hill. Nevada's Washington Watch, your watch on Washington. Subscribe today at nevadaswashingtonwatch.com.
Heads we go, tails we stay. A coin flip. That's how it all began for what is now Nevada's largest transportation provider. Charlie Frias, with a can-do spirit and support of his loving wife Phyllis, bought ABC Union Cab in 1966. They then parlayed 5 cabs into a fleet of nearly 1,000. And today, Frias has over 2,000 employees and was recently voted Las Vegas's best company to work for. Frias, safe, reliable, simply the best.
America's minerals have made us a nation of self-reliant dreamers, shaping our world and the endless ways we enjoy it. But red tape often forces us to import more than half the minerals we depend on. Minerals we already have. We don't import our dreams. Shouldn't that go for our minerals too? The National Mining Association. Learn more at nma.org.
And welcome back to Eye on Washington, our discussion with Nevada's newest congressman about his assignments on the Hill and how they tie into his goals for you this year on the Hill. He is my guest today, Nevada U.S. Congressman Joe Heck. A senator or member's committee assignments matter a ton to the folks back home. In other words, where they sit can affect where you stand. You want your congressional leaders assigned to committees whose jurisdictions matter most to your state. So smile big when I tell you that my guest hit a jackpot for Nevada, especially considering his freshman status. Congressman Heck has been assigned to the House Intelligence, Armed Services, and the Education and Labor Committees. He's also a member of the GOP Steering Committee. Let's take a quick look at each assignment and why you should care that he's on it. The House Intelligence Committee is handpicked by the House Speaker. It has primary oversight of the U.S. intelligence community, sharing the job with the Department of Defense, Armed Services Committee, and various branches of the military. The Armed Services Committee was called the National Security Committee until being renamed in 1994. A partial list of its oversight: general defense policy, ongoing military operations, organization and reform of the Defense and Energy Departments, and the Nuclear Weapons Program. The Education Workforce Committee oversees education and workforce programs encompassing everything from early learning through secondary education and from job training through retirement. You told the press, even before you'd won election, that you were crossing your fingers for Homeland Security and education. But, go through each assignment again. I know you touched on it last segment, but why does it matter for Nevada? Why are you good at it?
Well, education is very important to me. A father of 3 children, all of which have gone through the Clark County School District. One's a graduate of UNLV. I still have a son in middle school. And for myself, I've spent over half my life in the classroom so far, getting my medical degree, my master's degree, and whatnot. And so I think it's critically important that we have an educational program in Southern Nevada and throughout our nation that prepares our youngsters to be ready to enter society and to be globally competitive. And I think there's a lot of issues that we currently have, specifically in Southern Nevada, in trying to accomplish that goal. So I hope that with my degree in education, have 3 children go through the school district, understanding a little bit of what happens at the state level, having served on the Education Committee in the State Senate, that I can leverage those experiences to come up with ideas and solutions so that we can increase our educational product in Southern Nevada. Same thing with post-secondary education. We need to be able to stay competitive globally. We need to make sure that our students are getting the experiences that they need, and whether that's a college, whether it's community college, or whether it's career, vo-tech, or professional training, we have to provide them options so that they can be globally competitive.
Before you go on, as far as education, Nevada does have the unenviable ranking of last in the nation for graduation ranks. What do you hope to achieve in your first session on Congress?
Well, I think we need to start putting more of the responsibility back at the local level, and we need to let parents, teachers, local governments decide how they're going to provide education to their students. Again, my son's in middle school. I think we need greater parental involvement. Just last night, he finishes his math homework, he faxes it to me, and then I'm on the phone with him going over it while I'm here, because it's critically important for me as a parent to make sure that he's getting the lesson and he's prepared to go back to school the next day. And I think that comes down to providing options. Ultimately, it's the parent's responsibility, I believe, to make sure that the child gets the education they need, whether that's public school, private school, charter school, homeschooling. We have to empower them for the options that they need for their child.
The workforce side of that committee, it's easy to say we're doing so poorly in education, let's focus on that. But in a recession, the workforce side, it covers pensions, employment benefits like health care, workman's comp, family medical leave, equal employment opportunity, a whole host of things, and the biggie in this rough climate too, job training and development. And these are important matters anytime, but they're really crucial in this recessionary time, aren't they?
Oh, most certainly. And again, one of the reasons why I looked at this committee, because it touches such a wide jurisdiction, whether it's K-12 education, post-secondary education, workforce development, and it gives me an opportunity to bring my life's experiences and my professional experiences to the table. And as the Nevada
rep, in a state where education is faring so poorly and the job and foreclosure and economic outlook is so poor, it's kind of a extra important committee, isn't it?
Definitely. Jobs is the #1 issue for us in Southern Nevada, and it's all interrelated. If we don't have a well-prepared, educated, and trained workforce, we'll never get the jobs that we need to pull ourselves out of the recession. So I believe that whether you're looking at the workforce side or the education side of this committee, those things are integral to each other in making sure that we can pull ourselves out of the recession in Southern Nevada.
As we're wrapping up this segment, I'll let intelligence go for now, because wink, wink, some of that's you couldn't tell me anyway is the joke, right? But Homeland Homeland Security, we talked about this a little bit, but your Army background and your background in emergency preparedness, did that make this especially interesting for you?
Well, it did. But what happened was, even though I was put on Homeland Security initially, I've been taken off Homeland Security now and moved over to Armed Services.
Oh, that's right.
Both of which I think are just as important to Southern Nevada, because the Intel Committee will still give me a lot of the exposure that the Homeland Security Committee would have provided me on critical issues to Southern Nevada, as far as keeping Southern Nevada safe. And then the Armed Services Committee, I believe, is very important because we have so many military facilities throughout the state, even though they may not be in District 3, between Creech Air Force Base, Nellis, Fallon Naval Air Station, the Hawthorne Army Depot, the test site, a lot of facilities that are very critical to DOD, which create jobs for Southern Nevadans and Nevadans throughout the state. So I think it's a critically important assignment for somebody from Nevada.
And my mistake to the Eye on Washington audience, when we're taping this, I had not gotten that information until just now for the show, and I do apologize. It is Armed Services. Right. So we're all set. When we come back, we're going to talk to you about jobs and some of your ideas to help Nevada's struggling economy, and that's coming up after this.
Sunrise, the Mojave Desert. Just another day in Southern Nevada? Think again, pal. Millions of concerned citizens are throwing in to conserve water. Yes, from those hipsters in Henderson to those frolicking families around Lone Mountain, everyone's playing their part. Nice frolicking. It's a desert out there. Be water smart. Go to snwa.com.
Every day, thousands of people in northern Nevada don't get enough to eat. 1 out of 5 children in northern Nevada go to bed hungry every night. But you can do something about it. Catholic Community Services of Northern Nevada has been providing help and creating hope in our community for more than 65 years. By donating food, time, or money, you can make a difference in a hungry person's life. When you make your generous donation to St. Vincent's Dining Room and St. Vincent's Food Pantry, you're helping to fight the scourge of hunger in northern Nevada. In these tough economic times, now more than ever, we need to help those less fortunate. To find out how you can donate to St. Vincent's Dining Room and St. Vincent's Food Pantry, call, click, or stop by, and together we can end hunger in northern Nevada.
How will new energy technology make our lives better? Will geothermal, wind, and solar energy be a bigger part of our future? Yes. And soon it will all be in our backyard. Learn more at nvenergy.com.
You already watch Eye on Washington with Marilee Joyce, Nevada's only statewide program produced in Washington, D.C. But for even more news from Capitol Hill that affects you, your family, and your business, you need to read Nevada's Washington Watch, our online newsletter. In-depth reporting on federal efforts that impact you. Our exclusive Inside the Beltway column, putting a microscope on Nevada's congressional delegation. Guest editorials about what Nevada needs from the Hill. Nevada's Washington Watch, your watch on Washington. Subscribe today at nevadaswashingtonwatch.com.
Thanks to an ongoing commitment by America's mining companies, more than 2 million acres already have been reclaimed. To learn more about reclamation or other aspects of mining, visit nma.org, the National Mining Association.
And welcome back to Eye on Wash, our discussion of the top priorities of Nevada's newest congressional member, and we've been visiting with him, Nevada U.S. Congressman Joe Heck. Well, let's focus this segment on his top goals for Nevadans, both immediately and overall this congressional session. Just before this taping, the congressman told me that his top 3 priorities for this congressional session are, and I quote, jobs, and, of course, jobs. His top focus, quote, is getting Nevadans back to work. Now, during the election, he mentioned his background in small business and its relevance in qualifying him to tackle the economic issues facing the state. Posted on his campaign website was this, quote, far too often our elected officials haven't actually worked in the private sector nor had a real job. All they know about the economy or creating jobs comes from a committee report or a textbook. He further wrote that he believes in a federal economic policy that stimulates growth and opposes what he calls trillions in ineffective government spending, and added that in order to create jobs, we need a regulatory environment that protects consumers without stifling business growth. And Congressman, here's a quote from you from the campaign trail. You said, quote, our federal government must rein in spending and work to enact policies that do not discourage the growth of our small business, but instead encourages them to create jobs. Tell us about that.
Sure. Well, certainly no one knows more than those that live in Southern Nevada the status of our economy throughout the nation, especially back home when we, again, have the highest unemployment rate in the nation. And so we've got to concentrate on how are we going to get people back to work? How are we going to get that small business owner to grow his business? Or are we going to get that person who's sitting on the sidelines now thinking about, you know, I'd really like to start a business. Now would be a great time since I've been out of a job for a while. How are we going to get that person the tools that they need and the resources they need to start that business? And again, even the larger businesses need to have some type of predictability and stability before they decide to reinvest some of their profits to grow business and hire more people. And so how do we do that? Well, you know, I look at it from three different levels. Certainly at the highest level, it's setting that environment that encourages growth. And that's by giving a predictable, fair, stable tax base. So that people know what they're going to be paying in their taxes, whether it's personal income taxes, corporate income taxes. They need to know what their cost is going to be of doing business. And especially in Nevada, where we have so many small businesses, over 80% of our businesses are small businesses, most of which are S corporations. So they report their income on their personal returns. So that personal income tax is very important to them. Estate taxes, you know, we don't reward success. If you're successful in growing a business or a farm or a ranch and you happen to pass on and want to leave it to your family, you're going to wind up being taxed on that. Long-term capital gains, if you're successful and you want to sell it and make a profit, you're going to be taxed on that. So there's really a disincentive to wanting to be successful. So we have to set that environment. Sure. Next, we got to come down and look at what does the person or the business that's currently operating need. And right after the election, we went around and met with just about all of the chambers of commerce in Southern Nevada. And there's an overarching principle that all of them say we need access to capital. We want to open a business, we want to grow our business, but we can't get the money that we need to do it. So we need to look at ways to increase their access to private capital so that they can grow, hire people, and put people back to work.
You know, you weren't here, of course, for the votes these past couple of years to extend unemployment benefits. But, you know, as a former small business owner, a pro-private sector person, someone representing the most badly hurting area of the country, would you have joined the rest of the delegation, the Nevada delegation, in voting for those benefit extensions every time they came up?
Sure. When you look at the highest unemployment rates in the nation, you've got to be able to give people something to keep them going until they can get reemployed. I certainly would have supported that legislation just like the rest of the delegation.
Is it a little different when you are in such a struggling state? For instance, there are people, you know, we live in Washington, I live here, and you hear some people who aren't in such states saying the extension of unemployment benefits is actually at some point a disincentive to find work, etc. That wasn't in such a recessionary time for Nevada or this nation, though, right? I mean, things, what you're saying is this is a different time?
Sure. I think, well, you'll find people on both ends of the spectrum. You'll find those individuals who will continue to collect an unemployment benefit until it's cut off and they're forced to go find a job. You'll find those people that are out there every day pounding the pavement, even though they're collecting a benefit, trying to find a job. But the most important thing was making sure that because of the unemployment issues that we have, you know, we're also #1 in bankruptcies, we're #1 in foreclosures. There's a lot of collateral issues, and so it's very important to try to protect the people in Southern Nevada with something to keep them going until the job market returns and they can go back to work.
You know, and our final moments of this, so we'll get to it a little bit more. Just, we're discussing your goals. A couple more of your goals for our Armed Services Committee.
Well, certainly I'd like to leverage the facilities that we have in Southern Nevada, as well as throughout the state. I think there's great opportunities at the test site to be able to bring additional training and different programs out there that can create jobs for Southern Nevada. I think it's critically important that we make sure we protect Nellis Air Force Base and Creech Air Force Base because they're such a large employer, as well as being so critical to our national defense.
I'll look forward to having you on a whole show on that soon, and we're going to be right back with our mailbag segment. Stay tuned.
Sunrise, the Mojave Desert. Just another day in southern Nevada? Think again, pal. Millions of concerned citizens are throwing in to conserve water. Yes, from the sunny folks at Sunrise Mountain to our pals out in Red Rock. Everyone's playing their part. Saving water is fun? I'll say, it's a desert out there. Be water smart. Go to snwa.com.
All of us at Caesars Entertainment have something we want to say.
Play responsibly.
Play responsibly. We don't want you to gamble if you've had too much to drink.
You shouldn't gamble if you're lonely or depressed.
And if you're under 21, you're not allowed to play.
No, no, no.
No matter which of our casinos you come to, our message is always the same.
Play responsibly.
Play responsibly.
Play responsibly. We know you're coming to our casinos to have a good time, and we always want you to leave feeling like you did.
Built on a fleet of just 5 cabs bought in 1966 by founder Charlie Frias, Frias Transportation is now Nevada's largest transportation provider. Today, Frias has a fleet of nearly 1,000 vehicles and more than 2,000 employees. As an industry and community leader, Frias continues to create the future of transportation technology and management and actively supports the community, continuing the legacy of quality service in the Las Vegas Valley. Simply the best. Thanks to an ongoing commitment by America's mining companies, more than 2 million acres already have been reclaimed. To learn more about reclamation or other aspects of mining, visit nma.org, the National Mining Association.
Sunrise, the Mojave Desert. Just another day in southern Nevada? Think again, pal. Millions of concerned citizens are throwing in to conserve water. Yes, from those hipsters in Henderson to those frolicking families around Lone Mountain, everyone's playing their part. Nice frolicking. It's a desert out there. Be water smart. Go to snwa.com.
And welcome back to Eye on Washington. It's our mailbag segment, and in this segment we tell you about an issue the congressional guest is receiving a lot of correspondence about. We read one of your letters on the air, and we invite our guest to respond to you right here. And Congressman, your office has been hearing a little bit about lack of civility in Congress, and I have a letter here from Carl T. of Henderson, and he says, "Dear Congressman Heck, past several years been a lot of partisanship in Congress. It's taken the attention of the American public away from the majority of issues that everyone agrees on, made them focus on details everyone disagrees on. What can be done to resolve the partisanship that is dividing and not helping our country?" How do you respond to Carl?
Well, I think you'll see moving forward in the 112th Congress that we are trying to come together, be more civil, and work together for solutions for the nation. An example of that was the State of the Union address back in January, when you saw colleagues from across the aisle sit together while the President addressed the chamber of the House. You saw how people rallied together around the chamber after the tragic incident that occurred in Tucson with Congresswoman Giffords. I think part of the idea of having a big freshman class, too, and bringing in a lot of new blood brings a lot of people that don't necessarily have perhaps some of those uncivil relationships that may have been in the past.
So Carl can count on you to try to make things a lot better.
Definitely.
Thanks a lot. Thanks for being here
My
today,
pleasure.
and welcome again to Washington. And that does wrap it up for this week's Eye on Washington. Be sure to join us next time as we discuss more important federal matters and their impact on you in Nevada. And for news anytime of how federal issues affect you, visit our website, joycecommunications.com. I'm Marilee Joyce in Washington. Good day.